This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. A Manitoba father is once again hopeful his missing daughter might be found. 31-year-old Ashley Shingoose was last seen nearly a year ago, but Winnipeg police are now looking into an unconfirmed sighting of her from November. And as CBC's Josh Crabb reports, members of a remote First Nation have traveled to Winnipeg to help find Ashley.
Albert Shingoose is getting help from people in his home community of St. Teresa Point. Groups of volunteers from the Northeast Manitoba First Nation have traveled to Winnipeg to search for his daughter, 31-year-old Ashley Shingoose.
I believe so that she's still here, and I believe that she's around, and that's why I said I'm not going home until I find her.
The searchers work in teams, driving around the city following up on leads and tips from the public. They gather in this hotel meeting room to keep track of the ground they've covered and the information they've compiled. Charlene Mason of St. Teresa Point took time off work to join the search.
We were talking about it and we said we have to look for Ashley like she's our daughter because we all love our daughters. So that's what we've been doing.
The Bear Clan has also been helping with the search. Ashley was last seen March 11, 2022, but the Winnipeg Police Missing Persons Unit is looking into possible unconfirmed sightings of her from November. Officers put out this photo Friday of Ashley, which hasn't been released before. That's a positive sign for searchers.
Well, we've had leads, we've had possible sightings, and we're just investigating. We're not professional investigators, but we let the professionals do that.
Albert says police also asked him and his family to submit DNA samples. He says the family got results last week. There was concern Ashley may be Buffalo woman, an unidentified victim of alleged serial killer Jeremy Skibicki.
DNA samples didn't match. That was a pick. That's all up that didn't match. And that was good.
Police previously released an image of a jacket they believe Buffalo woman wore. Investigators say DNA is one tool they can use and that the search for Ashley's ongoing. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
More than 900 evacuees from Peguis First Nation are still unable to return to their home community nearly 9 months after floodwaters ravaged the reserve. At the height of the evacuation this past spring, more than 2,000 people were forced to leave the First Nation. About 1,200 have been able to move back to the community, but hundreds of others are still in limbo. According to Chief Glenn Hudson, nearly 300 homes are uninhabitable. Many families have been given no timeline as to when they may be able to go back home. At least 85 houses have already been condemned. Almost 200 more are in need of major repairs before anyone can live in them again. Hudson says talks with Ottawa have been slow and they have not received the approvals or money needed for a rebuild.
I've been telling them, let's start constructing. Let's start doing things because in 2 months or 3 months, the thaw is going to happen and we're going to have another flood. So we should have begun already.
Now, for those unable to return, the pain has been settling in for many months now. CBC's Brittany Greenslade sat down with some of those evacuees to hear their stories.
The water came fast, swallowing roadways and washing out homes.
This is the emergency generator.
Last spring, thousands of Peguis First Nation members were forced to flee the only place many have ever known. 9 months later, they're desperate to go back.
I want to go home so bad.
But Melissa Sanderson doesn't have a home to go back to. The one which once belonged to her grandparents is no longer safe to live in.
Being told that they're condemning it, it's the only thing we have left of them. So being told that we can't go home is hard.
It's a pain that's been setting in for too many evacuees for months.
When we went home, it's the reality set in. Like we can't take my grandkids back there. It's not safe for them.
Amanda Flett says at times it's been hard for her 3 kids to understand. They held on to hope their home would survive.
Months later, it's starting to look not so great. So I had to start explaining to them, there's a chance that we might lose our home.
900 are still unable to return.
It's pretty tough. There's a lot of, my children grew up there in their home, the 20-something years. Yeah, and left a lot behind, a lot of memories.
Instead, they've been living in hotels. With so many people bundled in sharing rooms, it means taking any small space you can to call your own, even if only for a few moments, from bathtubs to hallways.
It was just a small space for them, no privacy.
And no kitchens, no home cooking, and holidays spent in hotels. Christmas looked and felt very different.
My family did take turns coming into my room and opening the presents and stuff. We didn't get to have our big Christmas dinner.
Parents are trying to keep their little ones occupied, going to the movies, bowling, any outings they can find, but it can get expensive. And for those who have only ever known the reserve, living in a big city comes with fears.
I don't have to lock my door when I'm at home. I don't have to worry about my kids going missing. I have 4 daughters and I have 2 nieces, so I'm scared. It's scary.
As for school, many of the kids are not in class and are starting to feel depressed. Some have homework packages, but it's not an ideal learning situation.
But, they need a teacher. I'm a mom.
Between COVID and flooding, kids are falling behind. With so much damage done to the community, the hardest part is not knowing when life will start to return to normal, like others who are still out of their homes from previous floods.
We all want to be home, and not only that, we have evacuees in here from 2009. So does that mean we have to stay here that long? Because that's the hard part for me, is knowing I don't have a home to go.
No home, no timeline, just hundreds left with no answers. Brittany Greenslade, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Our coverage of this story continues tomorrow. We're going to take you to Peguis First Nation for a first-hand look at what it looks like now and what's taking so long. See what people there are still dealing with. Well over 3,000 people are known to have died in an earthquake that devastated southern Turkey and northern Syria, and that death toll will undoubtedly rise. The quake struck in the middle of the night, bringing down buildings, sending people into the winter cold. An aftershock almost as strong hit early in the afternoon, with more buildings coming down. So now, desperate searches, trying to find people buried beneath layers of rubble. Here in Winnipeg, members of the Turkish and Syrian communities are trying to contact loved ones in the earthquake zone to make sure they're okay. But as the CBC's Joanne Roberts reports, power outages are making communication tough.
Merak etme güzelim, her şeyin bir çözümü var.
The Emery family has been glued to the television since last night, hoping for good news.
It hasn't ended yet, so it was a major earthquake in Turkey. All our families has been affected. So we're here to support each other.
Well, it's very sad. So you want to try to be with your family members, with your relatives, but you cannot help.
The death toll keeps climbing, more than 3,400 deaths across 10 Turkish provinces and northern Syria. Songul Bozat Emri lost her niece and nephew. The rest of her family members, including her mother, sister, and other nephew, are injured.
Because their house all collapsed, and they lost their homes. They have no home right now, and they're in desperate situation.
Songul says it's been hard to stay in contact with her remaining family members. The country is experiencing power issues, and people are trying to save whatever battery they have left on their cell phones.
Nobody's providing any help, and they're on their own. So I'm really hoping that some of the help can reach to my family.
Right now, they're stranded outside in the cold, waiting.
And they ask us to help him, but what we can do, we are here, and they there.
Muhammad Koja is a Syrian refugee who also lived in Turkey. He's seeing videos of Karamanmarash, where his family lives, collapsing into smoke. He feels helpless.
Yeah, we're trying to find anyone just to ask him about all the people there. We're trying who has an internet or who has a charger in his phone now too, because no power there.
Koja managed to check on his family. They're alive and waiting for help, but all he can do right now is send prayers.
Well, we're watching, trying to hear good news, and hopefully we'll get some help.
Both families are looking for ways to help. The Emrys have already started to fundraise for their families who live closest to the disaster area. Joanne Roberts, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A program that provides treatment for Manitobans who have eating disorders is getting a boost in funding. The province says it's spending nearly $225,000 to expand the Child and Adolescent Eating Disorders program at Health Sciences Centre. Elaine Stevenson has spent decades fighting for more resources to help people with eating disorders. She spoke at today's announcement.
The addition of the $225,000 enables the hiring of a nurse therapist and a social worker, resulting in up to 80 additional families will be seen every year in the hospital-based program.
And Stevenson knows how important that is. Her own daughter died from complications of an eating disorder back in 2002. Animal welfare advocates are furious with Ottawa for not doing enough to protect horses. Every year, thousands are exported to Japan for slaughter. There are calls to ban the practice, something promised by the Prime Minister more than a year ago. Until that happens, advocates want, at the very least, for the animals to be treated humanely during transport. Karen Pauls has the story.
79 horses were brought to the airport in semi-trucks under the cover of darkness, loaded into wooden crates 3 to 4 deep, then left on the tarmac to await a cargo plane and the long flight to Japan.
It's awful because they're flight animals. They're not used to being handled like that. It's a very stressful time for them. They are confused. They're dealing with turbulence. They're dealing with a lot of different issues. Takeoff and landing is quite traumatic.
Every year, Canada exports between 3,000 and 4,000 live horses to Japan, mostly Clydesdales and Percherons, bred specifically for human consumption as horse meat sushi. By law, the horses can only be in transport a maximum of 28 hours. But on that flight from Winnipeg to Japan in December, there was a delay taking off and a blizzard at a planned refueling stop. The exporter says a decision was made in conjunction with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency to keep going, even though that limit was going to be exceeded.
We just found another airport that had the pilots and decided between everybody, let's get her done. Let's do it. We decided that for a couple hours, this was totally the best thing for the horses.
Animal welfare groups filed a legal complaint with the federal government. It acknowledged the shipment exceeded the legal time limit and that 3 horses had fallen in their crates, but said there would be no enforcement actions.
The CFIA has been quite dismissive. They wrote back quickly, indicating that they were not going to take enforcement action, even though they acknowledged that the law was broken here. If they're not going to take action in a situation like this, when are they going to enforce the law?
Advocates are upset. The Trudeau government still hasn't fulfilled a campaign promise to ban exporting of live horses for slaughter. In a statement, the minister said, "We are engaging with key stakeholders to determine the best course of action to ban the live export of horses for slaughter." An NDP petition, co-sponsored with Canadian musician Jan Arden, is expected to be presented to the House of Commons.
Our message to Canadians is that this is preventable and it's stoppable.
Raising horses for consumption is an industry worth tens of millions of dollars a year in Canada. Ottawa's challenge, trying to balance the livelihood of those farmers with the well-being of the animals. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Some newcomers who've recently moved to Manitoba say they're being unfairly penalized. They feel the provincial nominee program hurts people who move to Manitoba from different provinces. The CBC's Ian Fraze reports.
Days that expected. Immigration officials consider Prince Bhatia a risk. That's because the newcomer studied and worked in another province before moving to Manitoba. he might be forced to leave.
It is very difficult for me to sleep, and to be honest, I'm taking stress pills also.
The provincial nominee program has been a Manitoba success story. More than 130,000 people have come to the province because of it. But now some people, like Bhatia, say the standards are becoming too strict.
That is impossible for an international graduate from another province to achieve.
With the provincial nominee program, the more points you have, the greater your chance of getting permanent residency. A job offer or university degree gives applicants more points, but they lose points if they worked or went to school in a different province. The assumption is they're not as connected to Manitoba as other newcomers and might leave once they become permanent residents. But for the people at this rally Monday at the Punjab Cultural Centre, they say they're being punished for that.
We don't want to leave this country. We love this country. We want to give more to this country. If we are giving our 100% to this country, then why this country is not giving back to us?
The number of points that newcomers need to qualify is rising.
Government allowed us to do work. We did it, and now they are deducting to 100 points for my work.
After living in Toronto, he sees opportunity in Winnipeg. He wants to start a business and buy a house.
Here it's a little bit easier.
Simran Sharma helped organize the rally. She went to BC for schooling because she couldn't get into a university or college in Manitoba. Now she's back and wants to stay, but finds the province is making that difficult.
If you want us to be here, please support us. This is the only time that they can help us. We need their help.
The province says the minimum score is increasing because of high demand. Manitoba's been lobbying the federal government to increase the number of applicants it can accept.
If they want to grow this province, they need to increase the quota.
That's what the people in this room are hoping for. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Our weather specialist Fiona Odlum joins us now on a much milder day than we had certainly last week.
Wow, Janet, we have warmed up 32 degrees since Friday.
Only in Manitoba.
Only
what a
in
dramatic swing.
Yeah, did you get a headache this weekend from the temperatures?
No, but I have good friends who did.
Yeah, I had a bit of a headache yesterday. Feeling better today. And I'm feeling pretty happy about the current temperature. Let's take a look right now at where we're sitting here in Winnipeg. We're sitting at -1. That feels pretty great. And I want you to note the wind as well. The wind has been one of the big issues today. And I don't want you to be fooled by this because it isn't going away just yet. So right now we're sitting at -1 with the wind chill feels like -6. It's basically shorts weather compared to what we had last week. And that wind, northwest gusting to 17. Now, last night we had some wind gusts up into the 60s. We're going to watch for a little bit of a switch in terms of direction for wind tonight, and we're going to see it increase a little bit, but not for too long. Today has been a bit of a wild ride in terms of tracking what's going to happen, but we did have this low that was passing through. It's now over towards northwestern Ontario, where we can expect 2 to 4 centimeters of snow as we move towards the Kenora region. I want you to be careful because of all the warm air, we could see a little bit of freezing rain mixed in there. But let's talk about Winnipeg, where earlier in the day we thought we might get a little bit of snow tonight, and you can see a little bit of speckling and freckling there over Winnipeg, but it's really not going to be a big event at all. Maybe a light dusting of snow, but it really is going to be contained to the further north and as we move towards the east. So we should have a snow-free evening, but it is going to be all about the wind. Our long-range forecast is pretty interesting. We are watching for another low that's going to come through and reach the northern part of the province. And we'll talk about that in the next break. But it's this one here that starts coming in from Saskatchewan. And you see along this crest here how we see all that pink and blue. That's that mixed precipitation. And it's going to be right along the Trans-Canada Highway. That's Tuesday into Wednesday. So do manage your driving as we look into that Wednesday morning, because we could possibly see some closures there with the ice. And then we have the second system that starts to trail through. So we do have a little bit of snow this week, but coming towards Winnipeg, but not really a whole lot. The wind, you're going to watch it just die away really quickly here. And our next big wind event doesn't really start until later in towards Wednesday into Thursday. Okay, I'm hiding the good stuff. Midnight, -4, partly cloudy. You're going to see that wind there. That's going to be the highest it's going to get then we're going to just disappear completely. -10 when we wake up tomorrow morning, and then by lunchtime, -5. That's going to be pretty great. Our very short little long-range forecast, we're looking for 0 on Wednesday night into Thursday is our snow, and then lots of sunshine in the long-range forecast for us, Janet.
Thank you so much, Fiona. We're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Great temperatures to check out Winnipeg's first annual Winterscape International Ice Carving Competition. It actually was held over the weekend, and now we've got the beautiful results to enjoy. Competitors from several different countries competed at Upper Fort Garry Park in Winnipeg, that's down on Main Street, to create unique ice sculptures. CBC's Jim Agapito chatted with the sculptors and checked out their icy masterpieces.
Hi, I'm Corby Pierce. This is Winterscape. This is our first international ice carving competition here in Winnipeg. A long time coming in our mind, and we've been at it for a good solid year trying to get it all together, and it's finally happening, and we're bringing these amazing ice sculptors and their work to the city for the first time.
So what are you doing there?
Just rounding off, smoothing out. We want a nice finished product. So you get a lot of chisel marks and chainsaw marks. We'll use fire to smooth it all out. Victor has a technique of using a wet rag with warm water just to smooth it all out and get rid of all the little lines. And in the end, you end up with just crystal clear ice.
I'm Brad Freilich from Winnipeg, Manitoba.
I'm Victor Dagetan from Orlando, Florida.
Orlando, Florida. I hear you're also from the Philippines.
Yes, I am.
When I hear ice sculpture, Winnipeg, okay, I get, but Philippines ice, come on, man. I'm Filipino.
Yeah, we have a lot of ice in the Philippines, right?
Tell me a little bit about what you guys made here and the concept here, because this is beautiful.
She's what's it called? Archery?
Yeah.
And she's an hunter, and then we start to figure out how to wick it all together with ice, and it's still fragile, but works all together.
You know, we started here Friday.
Yeah.
And just started cutting some blocks and figuring it all out. Our templates, the wind was so bad, normally Victor does templates for everything, and we stick it to the ice so that we have proper lines to follow, but the templates blew away, so Victor had to freehand everything.
My name is Niels Brouwers. I'm here with my teammate Thomas Wijnberg. We're from the Netherlands.
You're from the Netherlands. You're all the way here in Winnipeg, cold.
Yeah, it's great air. It's we cross Atlantic to go here, right? So it's great atmosphere with the other carvers, and there's great ice because you pull the ice from the river, right? We don't have that in the Netherlands, so we get over here.
So our ice is good?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about your piece behind us?
Well, it's we made like a battle between the phoenix and the snake. So the phoenix trying to get away from his fire, and the snake just grabbed him by the tail and just trying to pull him down. They're fighting it out until one of them collapses, I guess.
Just incredible workmanship. I love that it's international. Just shows how much creativity there is throughout the world. Just love it.
And what's your reaction?
I'd say the same thing. I didn't know this was going on here, and I'm incredibly impressed to see people from all over the world come to Winnipeg and build these sculptures. It's really taking advantage of our natural landscape here in a really creative way.
What do you think of all the ice sculptures?
Cool, very cool. The team of Victor Dagetan, who was originally from the Philippines, and Canadian Brad Freilich won first prize for the Archer. That's the name of their sculpture. The team from Mexico took second, and the team from the Netherlands won third. It was a busy weekend. An adventure weekend showcased winter fun at Riding Mountain National Park. There was snowshoeing, fat biking, and cross-country skiing, along with snow sculptures that you could see all through the town of Wasagaming. Organizers of Winter Adventure Weekend want people to get out and embrace this season and see that beautiful park as a destination that's year-round, beyond just summer. CBC's Chelsea Kemp takes us there.
Snowshoes crunch through once untouched snow, creating a scenic winter trail and a fun experience for friends. The Winter Adventure Weekend celebrates the great outdoors and features many winter activities, along with giant snow sculptures. One of the organizers says the goal of the weekend is to get people outside.
It's just always nice to encourage people to come out to the park and enjoy everything that the park has to offer, no matter what the season is. And don't be afraid of going out into the outdoors. Stop on in, get some information on the trails, and then just pick your adventure.
Two main events were the guided snowshoe and ski trips, teaching people proper technique and how to feel comfortable in the snow, as well as tips to help them feel more safe in the wild. This snowshoeing guide says getting out on the trail system is the best way to learn to love the cold weather.
Just to encourage people to come out to Riding Mountain in the winter. Yeah, it's an experience that maybe a lot of people haven't had because they think of this as a summer place.
A group from Brandon is here for the winter adventure weekend. They said it was a chance to experience the park outside of the summer, something they had never done before.
Just a nice time for people hold out in their homes and during winter to be able to come out and do something fun.
The next set of winter activities set to take place in Riding Mountain will be over the Louis Riel weekend in 2 weeks. The day will include bannock making, maple syrup rolling, and more. All activities designed to get people out and enjoying the winter weather.
That was our Chelsea Kemp reporting from Riding Mountain National Park. Still to come tonight, how a new healthcare deal is expected to bring a decade-long funding promise. More when we return. The federal government is going to propose a 10-year plan to fund and reform Canada's healthcare system. Sources tell CBC News Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will reveal the details tomorrow when he meets with the premiers. The provincial and territorial leaders are in Ottawa today for meetings of their own. CBC's Marina von Stackelberg reports.
Hi, Premier. How are you? Premiers arrived in Ottawa confident a deal could be coming soon to fix their healthcare systems.
We have some meetings too before, but I think at this stage we're ready to make something happen.
So how do I know? We haven't seen any details yet. I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic.
According to sources with knowledge of the plan, the federal government will propose a 10-year funding agreement. The premiers say long-term dollars are key.
Opportunities that the federal government has to participate in healthcare funding, they should not only be for 10 years, but ultimately be wrapped into, permanent funding.
Sources also tell CBC News the money could be coming soon. Ottawa's offer would see funding flow as soon as this spring's federal budget.
We will be there putting more money on the table, but it's also important to make sure that the focus is on results and outcomes for Canadians.
The finance minister was asked to give more details about how much extra money could be coming.
I am certainly not going to steal the Prime Minister's thunder ahead of that meeting.
While provinces and territories are responsible for delivering health care, the federal government helps to fund it. Premiers have pushed Ottawa for years to increase the amount of money it gives them to pay for health care by billions of dollars.
There will be some significant discussions, and I think it's really good progress that we're here.
Everybody's optimistic that we're going to find they're going to table something that's going to be strong.
The long-term funding arrangements is crucial in terms of us being able to prepare and to be able to plan.
The premiers have been holding their own meetings today ahead of their sit-down with Trudeau and say they'll meet afterwards once they know the details of the deal.
If we had had it ahead of time, we could have had a more probably fulsome discussion tomorrow. There's no question about that. But again, I'm happy that we were able to get a meeting.
CBC News has learned the federal government plans to offer up more funding for health care across the board, but it will be also offering substantial money to individual provinces and territories to meet their specific health care needs. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Correctional Service of Canada is launching a review of its use of Indigenous elders in prisons. They're hired to give spiritual and cultural support to Indigenous inmates. This move follows an internal audit which concluded elder services are unable to meet offender needs. CBC's Olivia Stefanovich brings us the story.
Albert Dumont says he thought he was hired by Correctional Service Canada to work with inmates on rehabilitation, but he says the word was rarely uttered.
The liaison told me the first day I started working there that nobody worked longer than 3 weeks. He told me that they were young and violent and unpredictable, and that I had to watch not to get my throat slashed.
From that day on, the Algonquin elder says he saw problems with the way the Correctional Service deals with offenders, especially Indigenous inmates, who make up 32% of the prison population.
Clearly, something is wrong.
This retired judge hopes an upcoming review of elder services will lead to changes. It comes after an internal audit found elders exhausted and overworked, along with flaws in the way they're selected.
I blame the corrections system because they don't know how to measure the effectiveness. They don't even know what elders do in the community or in the prisons.
Too often, corrections is deciding who is an elder, is contracting those individuals, and is dictating what they can and cannot do.
This longtime prisoner advocate says the agency should involve Indigenous leadership in the decision-making and give elders more freedom to offer guidance.
I've seen individuals who have gone from being in segregation, literally losing their minds, in terms of mental health issues, work with an elder and start to move through the process and end up, ultimately in the community. Unfortunately, there are far too few cases where that happens.
Despite his concerns, Dumont says working with inmates was meaningful.
We don't know what relative of ours might end up in prison. So we all have a stake in how people are treated in prison. because it could be one of your loved ones someday.
Correctional Service Canada is looking to overhaul the entire elder program, from increasing staff to involving Indigenous communities in the way elders are chosen. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Ottawa.
A trial is underway for nearly 50 pro-democracy advocates in Hong Kong. They were arrested in 2021 under a sweeping national security law which was imposed by China's government in Beijing. Hundreds of protesters, including family members of some of the accused, marched and chanted outside the courthouse. The activists are charged with conspiracy to commit subversion. Several of them had arranged an informal election. It was an effort to find more pro-democracy candidates for Hong Kong in Beijing's controlled government. At least 8 of the accused are facing up to life in prison if they're convicted. This mass trial is expected to take 90 days. Still ahead tonight, an all-Asian hockey tournament. It marks the end of Lunar New Year celebrations and creates a safe space for Asian players. We'll bring you the story after the break. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. It was the first of its kind, an all-Asian hockey tournament celebrating the Lunar New Year, and it happened in Winnipeg. The weekend tournament was hosted by the Winnipeg Emperors, an all-Asian hockey team. It wasn't just about the end of New Year celebrations, but also about creating a safe space for players.
Today we are actually holding the first ever Lunar New Year hockey tournament. It is a blending of two cultures together in the Asian culture, which is celebrating the Lunar New Year, which is essentially the biggest holiday in Asian culture. And then the other culture would be just our love for hockey and just blending them two together.
Growing up, there wasn't any events for hockey per se that was just strictly around the Asian community. It was just hockey games that I would show up to, be the only Asian or one with minority, and you just get used to being the only one, right?
We want to present a message of diversity and inclusion and inclusiveness for all the young players and players who have played hockey, and showing them that maybe when you were playing minor hockey, you went into a room and you didn't see very many people who looked like you. But the truth is there's actually a lot of people who love the game and enjoy it as much as you do.
Growing up, there were a lot of racial slurs in the locker room and on the ice. I didn't really know what those racial slurs meant until I grew up, so it's kind of weird that you go and play hockey and you're getting called these different names just because you're different.
There is a huge thirst for this sport, Winnipeg, and just growing up in Canada, there's a huge hunger for the game, right? What we want to send the message here is that you're welcome to play this game. There are many people who might not look like you when you first start, but there are actually a lot of people who are of Asian descent who are very happy to play this game. We actually are very happy about this, and we're going to keep on growing the game and the tournament. We are actually in talks to become even bigger, and it's looking very, very strong. We know the event will be back next year, but we also know that it'll become a lot larger.
Hockey is for everyone. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, we're all welcome. This is Canada, it's Canada's sport, and they should all feel comfortable playing it.
If you would please indulge me, I would like to discuss a small occupational hazard. When you do the news every night between 6 and 7, when, a lot of people might be eating supper, you can get a little stomach rumbly. You can get a little, peckish. And now my compadre here is starting to talk about what she's going to have for supper.
I'm having chicken and rice for supper. What are you having?
I have absolutely no idea.
Okay, this all ties into our viewer photo as well, because, if you're eating supper, it's gross, but it's not gory. Let's take a look at this viewer photo. It's fantastic, Janet.
I'm worried.
You ready? Okay, look at this.
I don't know.
So Lori sent this in. That is an owl that swooped in and got a rabbit for dinner. That was at Buns Creek. Do you see the print in the snow?
I do.
Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing. I want to see the picture taken 20 seconds earlier.
I know. Well, this is so great. Thank you, Lori. You can see the full imprint of the owl there. And she said, not a great day for the bunny, but supper for the owl. Thank you, Lori, for letting me share that photo. All right, current conditions, 1 degree right now in the Forks, -3 in Steinbach. We have to talk. I just got an email saying the highways around Russell, Manitoba, so Highway 16, those roads are closed now because of extreme snow and winter conditions. We still have this snow warning for the Churchill area. We're looking for 10 to 15 centimeters of snow once that system has finally passed. You can see it here. It's on its way out. This is another system that's going to be coming through, bringing more snow Monday tonight into Tuesday, impacting that Russell area. We're going to see some moments of sunshine, but then it's this system that'll be passing through Wednesday that will bring a disturbance towards the Winnipeg area, and we'll watch for some closures there on the Trans-Canada Highway, icy conditions. Here's the snowfall totals for the next 24 hours into the north and then into the 48-hour zone, 5-6 centimeters to Swan River. Now to the south, we're looking for some snow into the Paw, Barons River and Sioux Lookout. Not much into Winnipeg, but Piney, you're going to get some 5 centimeters into that storm as we look through Tuesday night into Wednesday. Northern wind is a bit breezy in George Island and Swan River, but that's going to all dissipate as we look throughout the rest of the week. Okay, let's take a look. We're going to be looking for some snow in towards Kenora. We saw that on the map. Their temperatures around -10 and 11. Tonight, -11 into Winnipeg. Watch for blowing snow all through this southern Interlake, Red River Valley area. That is going to be our issue with the wind. After midnight, it all goes down, which is great. Watching for snow in the north tonight. We saw that system passing through. Tomorrow, you'll see moments of sunshine, Churchill, and a high of -25. Snow arriving in the afternoon to Flin Flon and the Paw. That's going to be a factor for you. Looking for light wind tomorrow. That's great news. South 20, so not a breezy day. Lots of sunshine coming our way, but some remnant snow definitely going to be impacting northwestern Ontario, Janet.
Thanks so much, Fiona.
You're welcome.
The annual Jack Frost Challenge is on this week in Winnipeg. The Green Action Centre's effort to encourage active transportation in the winter by getting people outside and getting them moving. The challenge kicked off yesterday here on the Nestawaya River Trail at the Forks. Still, there is time to register and take part. You can log your kilometers as you go. Go to the Green Action Centre's website for all the details. Blues legend Bonnie Raitt won 3 Grammy Awards last night, including one for her performance of a song called Made Up Mind. Why 2 Winnipeg brothers are rather excited about this win. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
Pretty soon the melody is like a rainstorm tin roof symphony, but it starts out slow.
Blues legend Bonnie Raitt won 3 Grammy Awards last evening. 2 of them, Best American Roots Song and Song of the Year, were for a tune she wrote called Just Like That. The 3rd Best Americana performance she won for her cover of Made Up Mind by Manitoba's own Brothers Landreth. During her acceptance speech, what a shout out she gave them.
Oh, I want to thank the Brothers Landreth for writing this kick-ass song.
Dave Landreth joins us now. So Dave, take us back to the moment you saw her say that on the Grammys.
It was a really wonderful moment. I'm not going to lie. We definitely had our fingers crossed, hoping that Bonnie might win last night. And I whooped and hollered. I sprang out of my seat. I was extremely excited. And I was sitting there with my wife and my son.
Oh, how cool
really
that they
fun.
got to share it with you. How valuable is a shout out like that on the Grammys, the biggest music show arguably in the entire world?
I mean, I guess it kind of remains to be seen. If the activity on my phone this morning was any indication, I think people are really they're really resonating with that moment as well. I've got a lot of people congratulating me and Joey and I, and that are feeling also pretty excited about it. I mean, we're over the moon. It means so much to us that Bonnie has plucked our little song seemingly out of the ether and just decided to take it on this incredible roller coaster adventure. So we're just beside ourselves.
Tell me about your day. Tell me about who's reached out to you and how busy it's been.
Surprisingly, I didn't anticipate it. Maybe you can tell by the way I'm dressed. I didn't think I'd be doing any press today. I just showed up. I'm working in, we have Joey and I started a record label along with our manager, Stu. It's called Birthday Cake Records. And I'm in the office like any other day. And I've been swamped with press all day. I've been doing interviews and been on the phone and had people come in with camera and take pictures of our luxurious grand office here. We're on the 3rd floor of the Burton Cummings Theater, directly outside the men's bathroom. So it's been pretty funny. And yeah, my phone's just exploding with friends and family and fans congratulating us and getting excited. It feels really wonderful. It's a very, very wholesome moment.
How likely is it you're going to send Bonnie Raitt more of your songs?
I mean, I think we never dreamed of a world where we could get one song covered by one of our biggest heroes and influences, and it didn't happen because we pushed for it. It happened because she liked it. She heard it, and she made a note, and she came back to it all these years later, 10 years after hearing it for the first time. So, I think we're just going to leave it and let come what may.
Well, we'll be watching whatever comes. Dave Landreth, thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for chatting with me.
Your 7-day forecast and daily lift still ahead. Stay with us.
Our 7-day forecast is a sharp change from last week. We're going to go to -1 tomorrow, 0 degrees on Wednesday into Thursday. That's when we're looking for a little bit of snow to be passing through. And then as we look towards our long range, we actually get back to our average values for Friday. And then just in time for the weekend, we warm back up to this very unseasonal temperatures. It's kind of nice, actually. Get a little break from all that cold.
Well, sure enough. Messy cars, but that's
messy
okay.
Cars, yes.
Well, there wasn't just the Asian hockey tournament. There were other things, too, from the Chinese community wrapping up Lunar New Year celebrations yesterday.
Yeah, the Winnipeg Chinese Senior Association hosted the Lantern Festival at the Southland Community Church.
Such a big deal because people hadn't been together during the pandemic. Here's your Daily Lift.
What we are having is a big celebration of the Chinese Lantern Festival. The Chinese Lantern Festival falls on the 15th day of the first lunar month. So this marks the last day of the Chinese New Year celebration. And we celebrate this day by having special food. We also do, performances. All the families eat dinner together, and we do lots of activities like paper cutting. It's so important for the community to come together to celebrate because of the pandemic. The past 3 years, people didn't have a lot of opportunities to see each other face to face, to get together, and we did lots of online virtual webinars, celebrations, events, but this is kind of our first in-person celebration. So we're just thrilled to see so many people here, and it really shows, the strong community that we have. This is a sold-out event, so it's just amazing.
It's beautiful.
Absolutely.
And now I'm hungry again. So hungry. Because you just know that food was good.
That was really good. The music was great, too.
Some lovely, talented people. Thank you so much for joining us.
See you later.
See you later.